The National Education Policy, NEP 2020, isn't just about reforming syllabi, it's about reshaping minds. With its progressive vision, NEP 2020 places a strong emphasis on nurturing cognitive flexibility and enhancing neuroplasticity in students, empowering them not just to learn, but to adapt, innovate, and thrive in a rapidly changing world. Let's now explore how this policy is laying the foundation for brains that bend but don't break. To comprehend the power behind this shift in direction, we are privileged to have with us Padma Shri Professor M.K. Sridhar. Apart from being a member of the NEP 2020 Drafting Committee, he is an esteemed educator, an accomplished researcher, a visionary institution builder, and a mentor par excellence. Please help me welcome Padma Shri Professor M.K. Sridhar.
Namaste to everybody. I was amazed I'm becoming emotional. The reason being, please, I'm coming across that kind of community which is so passionate, which is so determined, which has tremendous conviction to address the issue of diversity, inclusivity, and areas like that. Friends, brothers and sisters, I have great pleasure in meeting all of you. First of all, let me pay my tributes to Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, who is the architect of national education policy, who passed away recently. I think in his memory, sharing his vision with all of you. Let me only give 1 minute brief before we take up few questions. What I requested our friends, let me not have one-way traffic of only speaking to you. Please raise some questions so that I can answer. First of all, the entire issue of neuroplasticity, neurodiversity, the challenges, all that has been there in our society, which might be increasing, decreasing, the decree may change. But all said and done, education has a system. There is a state, there is an institution level, there is a mechanism to assess, there is a mechanism to certify. All this is needed in a society like ours. But in the last 7 decades plus, the system, the ecosystem of the so-called one, what I am trying to say, was not sensitive enough to really address at the systemic level. The National Education Policy 2020, which we are completing 5 years by the end of July, what we try to do is, how do you build that ecosystem which will facilitate and allow people and institutions to do further. Otherwise, the challenges were there, people were there, institutions were ready, but the system was stifling. I'm not using a very wild term called stifling, but the system was creating some challenges. So what we try to do in this is to come out with a policy, and based on that policy, taking the letter and spirit of the policy, convert that entire policy into national curriculum framework that is the basis for entire school education at the center and state, and then convert that national curriculum framework into actionable things like textbooks. So I think in the last 5 years, we have reached a stage of the policy to start with, then the curriculum framework in 2023, and now the textbooks since 2024. As a demonstration, I have brought 2 textbooks, which will explain to you, which will show you how all these things are addressed. So therefore, before I request concerned brothers and sisters to ask their questions, I am giving you a framework. You know, the school education system was not appropriate to the development of the child. So therefore, what we have done in the policy and the framework is, the child development, the brain development has been taken as the basis. As Dr. Ganeshan was showing me the different stages, infancy, adult, various things. More or less it corroborates that. And at each stage, what kind of development happens in children? Physical, cognitive, language, emotional, moral, and all that. And accordingly, how do we address the content, the pedagogy, the assessment, the school culture, and various things around it? Therefore, the entire school education system of 15 years, starting from the age of 3, has been divided into 4 stages, 4 phases. 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. First 5 years, next 3 years, next 3 years, and the last 4 years. So that is popularly known as 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. I am here only to bring the perspectives of that education policy and the framework. I am definitely not an expert in any of these things. I am only an enthusiast. But I am here to reflect the spirit of the policy, the spirit of what has happened. Now, I think with this little background, I request the concerned people to raise your questions so that I can answer.
Sairam and Namaste, sir. The first question that I would like to ask you is, it's amazing actually to see that you creators have brought in early childhood education into our ambit of schooling, because previously nobody bothered about it. The question specifically is this change in 12 plus 2 system, 10 plus 2 system to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, what kind of how it reflects on the brain development? Is there any change between previous and this system as it stands, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4?
See, that 10 plus 2, in a very, very summative way. There used to be primary, pre-primary, secondary, like that they were there. But there were more in terms of the grades and terminology. But I think now, as I clearly shared with you, the first 5 years, starting from the age of 3 up to the age of 5, we call that as foundation stage. And we have made it a point that foundation stage, the first 3 years, there should not be any textbook. The textbook, even if it is, has to happen only in the first grade and second grade. And it must be completely play-based, activity-based, motor skill development, making them to explore everything, making them to grow in their own way. And then what happens is, it is very flexible and things like that. The next 3 years is called preparatory. That is 8, 9 and 10 age group, or grades 3, 4 and 5. Actually, what we try to do that is, in that stage, you try to address little more of textbooks. Now the education shift in the form of textbooks. Little formal classroom atmosphere will come. And we will only have generalist teachers. And actually, that is the stage which you are preparing them for subjects. This has been done primarily keeping in view the kind of development. And the next stage is called middle stage. Middle stage is 6, 7 and 8 grades. And that in that middle stage, subject teachers come into picture, subjects come into picture, abstract concepts are being introduced, and there is more of experiential learning. It is not play-based, it is more of experiential learning. And we also expose them. It is not just subject, but it is a relationship between subjects. Sir, Dr. Ganesh, you accept with me, our entire system of education is so subject driven, subject isolated. I am a physics man, I am a physics man. I am an economics, I am economics. But that relations between various things have to be picked up. That happens in middle stage. And the last stage is secondary, which prepares the child for the higher education. That's where there is no hard separation. Curricular, co-curricular, extracurricular, no separation. There is no separation between arts and science. There is no hierarchy. Something is great, something is inferior. And the choice and flexibility is first time is introduced to the student. It will take time for the system to pick up and to become a reality. I agree. See, in a vast system like ours, choice and flexibility, it has its challenges. I agree. But then you have to start somewhere. Until you are ready, you cannot stop it. And the content must be very, very less. And it should not be board examination focused. So this is, I think, my sister, the basic difference between the kind of system that we had. I am not criticizing the past system. See, at any point of time, I am not trying to say that was bad. Because of that entire system only, all the children have now come to the schools. They have been enrolled. There is universal access. There is a midday meal scheme. All that I very agree. But then you'll have to go to the next stage. That is what we have tried to do.
Thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful.
I think this approach is fine with you. Instead of me talking and all that, I think if they raise, but if you feel, anybody feels, that you need any clarity on what I am trying to say, I am putting it as limited words as possible to respect the time. So if you have anything, you can always raise, please.
Sairam.
Not that same questions, it can be, even in parliament there are supplementary questions, right?
Sairam and Namaste, sir. My question is regarding the curriculum, the national framework curriculum. What role does neuroplasticity play in shaping the curriculum at the different stages of this model that you just explained? Did you think of neuroplasticity and neurodiversity when you framed the curriculum?
No, see, let me tell you, when we try to work on the curriculum and the curriculum framework, we looked into the brain development research all over the world. May not be the concept called neuroplasticity, neurodiversity kind of things, but we looked at brain development. But let me tell you a very, very unfortunate observation. Not much studies in our country on brain development. Most of the studies we had to rely from other countries. Their brain development we took as the basis for our brain development. Only thanks to IIT Madras, Indian Institute of Science, and to the generous support of Chris Gopalakrishnan, a lot of now work is happening with regard to brain development. But still, whatever data that was available on that basis, we looked into the development, the cognitive development. Accordingly, the content and syllabus has been addressed. In fact, I have brought two books, grade 4 and grade 7, Physical Education and Well-being. Physical Education and Well-being, two books I have brought. If you see the kind of textbooks, textbooks are the real reflection of whatever that you want to transact, whatever you want to make children to learn. If you see them, you can find the difference. Not only in the size of the content, but the way it has to be given and what is to be given. So therefore, your question, to answer very specifically to your question, neuroplasticity was not considered, but now I feel on reflection, neuroplasticity has been addressed adequately in the framework.
Thank you, sir. While going through the national curriculum framework, we as teachers also noticed that you have considered brain development when you created that curriculum.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
And it is for people like you who have been working in this, and please don't mind that neuroplasticity, neurodiversity kind of terms I came across only when I received an invitation to attend this summit. But on reflection, I'm able to connect. Yes, all these things are addressed because somewhere we don't know how the brains get connected. May not be as a terminology, as a concept, but as a brain development, as a human being. Please.
Sharam sir,
Sir.
namaste. First and foremost, thank you, for laying the foundation. The question is, the policies are done. Now, how do we get into the reality? So what are your thoughts for next 5 years if you want to include this neurodiversity? What is that we need to do as people like us over here and people like you so that we can fast forward the whole segment of these children into the system?
See, one very, very important thing is the base is being set. The system is being set. That's why even the textbooks are being prepared in a mission mode. You may not believe the kind of pressure that the people have. Even many of the people from IIT system, they have been helping us. NCRT, So that's happening. Now I think the next 5 years, what you asked, there is something which is available now. Keeping that as the basis, we need to now start working towards what is to be done next. See, previously, even that basic foundation, the basic thing was not there. Everybody was trying to, figure out their own. Now there is something. Whether it is CBSE school, whether it is Navodaya Vidyalaya, whether it is Kendriya Vidyalaya, state boards, or even open schooling system. All these things have to have that national curriculum framework. But it is not mandatory for every state to follow that. You can have your variation. That is diversity. And we very much believe in the federal structure. They can have. But we have laid the framework. It is for the state and it is for the other boards to adapt it. But we have now the basis. Keeping that as the fulcrum, we need to work out the detail, how this gets translated on one hand, how this gets into action, number two, how do we prepare our institutions and individuals there to deliver this? I am only giving a very, very summative reply, but I am able to see that a lot of challenges if you decode my summative reply. Each one, if you decode them, lot of things come out. So that we need to do. But I think one thing I can tell, 5 years you asked, this entire community is now ready with a framework to get into action. I think that is a very, very important preparation as a step towards 5 years.
I have a supplementary question, sir. What is the role of the parents you see in these things to really move forward? Because I feel the kind of, now what we hear for the last 3 days, the parents play a critical role. So what do you see the role of the parents in fast forwarding this?
I miss your name? Baswaraj. Mr. Baswaraj, one thing is, see, when we are thinking of a school system or a child cannot be looked away from the family, the parents. Maybe in higher education, people go abroad, they stay in hostels, all that is there. But what we also try to address in the framework as well as the policy, I don't know how many of you had the occasion to have a detailed look at the National Curriculum Framework. It's a very, very voluminous document. Please don't get disturbed, oh, such a big thing. We have also written the first page, how to read this National Curriculum Framework. Don't be under the impression like a fiction, like a novel. You start from the first page and end. No, it need not be. There we have addressed everything, and we have very, very important thing that we have mentioned in that is, it is not just curriculum. It is not just pedagogy assessment. It is the school culture. School culture matters a very, very important thing. And when you are trying to build that school culture, parents very much come into the picture. I was listening to Dr. Ganeshan and that family, how they address the issue. How they address the issue. Without the involvement and participation of parents, no school, no teacher can do anything in this regard. So I think if parents are very, very critical stakeholders of this, and the families are very, very essential arms of this, we cannot build this entire thing in a system isolated from parents, isolated from family. I think it is a collective effort, but then the question is, the institution and the teachers, how do you make extra mile effort to engage, to involve, and to reach out to parents? I think this is where the issue comes. Hope I addressed your point.
Sairam sir, my question is on inclusive education. What are the core competencies that teachers must develop to be inclusive educators today?
See, one thing, sister, leave alone the very technical things of core competency and all that. Help ever, hurt never. So, if I don't have that intrinsic dimension of my personality, any amount of training, any amount of faculty development, any amount of capacity building will not add value. So what I feel is, when it comes to core competence, in fact, I have noted 2 points. What are the core competence? They are not core competence, they are the fundamental components. One is seva, the other one is spirituality. See, if that spirit of seva is not there, I cannot empathize. And if I don't have that spiritual approach to things, I see God in every human being, how can I serve? I am trained. I have certificate. I have degrees. I am a PhD, but still I will not. So these are the fundamental. But then merely this is not enough. I agree. So therefore I feel that teachers, the kind of teachers, inclusive teachers, they need to differentiate between one child and another child. That uniqueness of the child. Second thing what I feel is, you must have tremendous love and observation. You must love the child, and when you love the child, the mother, the kind of recognition that mother does in her child, you imagine. Even one day while coming back from the school, the mother just mere one glance at the child, the mother can make out what is happening. So you must have that observation. But you must have a formal system you can record and all that you can do. The third one is very, very important thing for inclusive teacher is, I must be in a position to differentiate the different stages, the different phases. I will not teach physics or I will not teach one subject across the grades in the same way, in the same manner and test them. No. My content has to be different. So I need to understand the difference. I need to understand how my pedagogy teaching method has to be different. I cannot follow playful method in grade 12. I cannot follow grade 12 pedagogy in grade 4. I need to have that difference. And then finally, the assessment. How do I assess? That's very, very critical. So the teacher, one of the extremely important core competence, what I feel is, you must be sensitive to that different phases of development and sensitive to that uniqueness of the child. If you are sensitive, you can be sensible. And if you are sensible, you are here to achieve your inclusivity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There's one more there. Just a moment.
I think I'm slightly extending my time. Oh. Maybe can we have cryptic reply and then I'll end.
I'm your namesake, Dr. Sridhar. I'm a founder of an edtech company working in the neurodivergent field. So I see two challenges after many. One is, how do we deal with the gifted child? Even in the neurodivergent, there's exceptional minds. So if we don't look after them, we are actually losing as a country the talent. In a school system, if a fourth grader asks the periodic table, teacher says, shut up, it's not your level right now. That is one challenge. Second challenge which I see is, we keep passing every student as it's a norm. Till 10th grade you are passed, you get a 10th class certificate. But unfortunately, there are children I have seen who don't know addition. What is the use of passing the child and not making him ready with basic life skills? He doesn't know how to handle money. So many simple skills. So it is the onus of the state to get that sorted rather than giving a certificate.
Dr. Sridhar, with all respect for your edtech company, please don't address the issue as an edtech fellow from a government person. See, first of all, let me appeal to you with all humility, please. You are an edtech company. I think a tech company as a startup spirit, we need to figure out the challenge and find the solution. If you pose the challenge to the state, what I am doing is right, wrong, right, whatever it is, then you will not find a solution. That is a generic remark. But the point what you said, the first one is the passing, the first one. First point what you said. Gift. See, our policy was very conscious in not using the terminology gifted. Please be aware, be sensitive. Don't brand some children as gifted. This will get into the psyche and it will make them to develop a competitive spirit and looking down at others. Dr. Kasturi Rangan, in one of the meetings, when we were discussing about gifted children and all that, no doubt lot of research studies have happened on gifted children and all that. He very clearly said, for heaven's sake, don't brand at somebody as gifted, not gifted, and things like that. Please call them as children with special talent. Some extra talent, some special talent. See, first is that. You need to build flexibility into the system. See, this gift, the so-called gifted, what you said, which I am calling as special children with special abilities or talents. You need to bring the system little flexible. One. Second thing, you must have different pathways. See, don't have only one way of doing it. You allow them different pathways so that whichever is possible, you can address. And the second thing, what you asked about the promotion. See, nobody is passing anybody, I say. Please come out of this pass, fail, what I can say, the mindset. Who are we to pass anybody? Who are we to fail anybody? I'm little emphatic, please bear with me. That's all because of the social attitude that I am passing the student, I am failing the student. Therefore, we went to the extent of saying there should not be grade-wise assessment. See, for example, grade 1 assessment, pass, fail. Grade 2, pass, fail. Please do the assessment at the end of every stage. So that if some children are a little slow, they'll come back and then come. So that is a kind of system. But they're all very revolutionary. It needs a lot of time. It needs a lot of preparation. It needs a lot of, what I can say, advocacy. And naturally, empathy has to be there for it to reach a stage. But the step has been taken. I think I request Dr. Sridhar, who is running an edtech company, to join hands with us to take it further.
Thank you very much, sir. That was a wonderful answer. At every stage, there is a checkpoint at which you have guided us to conduct that attainment of learning outcome and then take a call. But recently, 2 months back, 3 months back, central government has sent a circular to everybody saying that at grade 5 and grade 8, we need to look at the attainment of the learning outcome. If the child has not attained, he should be given 2 months' time. we have to teach him separately, make sure he attains that, and after that conduct one more exam. And if he actually doesn't pass, then the child has to have an essential repeat. As of now, we don't call compartmental fail, all those terminologies are done away with. We call it essential repeat. That circular has come 2 months back. So I wanted to bring it to your notice. Thank
Very
you
good.
so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I
sir.
was not very much aware of that. Thank you. I think last question, Anshuji.
Sairam, respected Sridhar sir, my name is Taranath Kotian. I am a volunteer at Sri Satya Sai Vidya Vaini Inclusive Education Program. My question is, there is a lot of reform has taken place in NEP 2020. How can assessment reforms ensure fair and accessible evaluation for students with diverse cognitive and physical abilities?
See, sir, I explained to you in the beginning itself that you cannot have a uniform assessment method. And if you have a look at the books, the 2 books that I have brought, there is a lot of self-assessment. See, making the child to assess himself and herself is a very, very important starting point. See, I can do any kind of assessment and tell you got so many marks, this grade, that grade, and all that. So that sensitivity to assessment has to happen. And then for each stage, the assessment has to be different. So that's why we said, even in secondary stage, at the end of 10th grade and 12th grade, the entire board examination system has to completely undergo change. The reason being, you need to assess the children on the core competencies of children, not on the subject knowledge of the children. If that has to be addressed, then your entire assessment of schools and teachers are driven by whom? Driven by that board. Not even by the board. The coaching centers are driving your entire assessment. And if you have to address I am not saying good, bad about coaching centers. That's a system which is there. You allowed it to happen. Once you change the structure of the board exam, it will have influence on the coaching center, which will definitely percolate down to parents. First is parents, then is teachers, then institutions, lastly unfortunate children at the end. Children is the victim of this entire thing. So if you have to address it, it has to happen like that. So therefore, it has to be worked on those lines. And maybe one way is the kind of flexibility, that choice that we are trying to give, especially in the secondary stage. That can be a good starting point for looking at assessment. And the second thing, this is a last point. When you are assessing, all these years we were assessing only the academic component. But there is an co-curricular dimension, there is an extracurricular dimension. So we have used a terminology in the policy called 360-degree feedback. The report cards have to be prepared, not just the subject marks and the grades. You'll have to have reporting of co-curricular dimension, extracurricular dimension and all that. Otherwise, I remember a Hindi film long back. The child comes home with a big cup, Nana Patekar, he comes back home with a big cup. He has been adjudged as the best drama director. And they are located on the first floor. His father, the fellow goes and shows, see, I have got this cup. Then the father opens the window, throws the cup outside and into the road. That is primarily because the parent thinks this drama, the music, the other things are of no use. I think that there are days, even in corporates, even in any kind of employment or entrepreneurship or whatever that we are doing, we are not looking at only one kind of focused thing, you are looking at that dimension. And that will come from this kind of assessment. Thank you. I think I acknowledge all your participation, and I really enjoyed this, and I once again acknowledge Satyasai Vidya Vahini and Bhagavan Satyasai, in the presence of divine presence of Bhagavan Satyasai, that you are taking the letter and spirit of the policy further. Hats off to you. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights on how NEP 2020 is opening new pathways that promise to be life-changing reforms for students. And for the felicitations, I request Shri K. Chakravarti Garu, IAS retired, Chancellor, Shri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning, and Shri Raghavendra Prasad Garu, Vice Chancellor, Shri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning, to do the honors.